I'm just keeping a look for the number of CTF members. I think we could wait for a couple. Maybe we'll just wait a minute. And so hopefully we had a little snafu that people weren't able to show their cameras. If you have a challenge and you're trying to show your camera and it's not letting you, let us know. But folks should be able to turn on their cameras when they so desire. And we of course would love to see your faces.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was worried that it's not working. It hasn't worked all day.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll go ahead and get started. We've got some folks who are still coming in, but I think we should start. Welcome everyone, meeting 27 of the West Seattle Bridge Community Task Force. I'm Angie Thompson, the facilitator for the group, and we're so pleased to have all of you here. We have a lot to get through. So I'm going to do just a couple of quick logistics pieces, and then we're going to get right into it. So on the next slide, you can see some of our just big picture rules for the CTF meeting. So for this meeting, we do not have a chat feature so that it can be accessible to everyone. So if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, go ahead and use the raise your hand feature on Zoom, or you can be old school and just raise your hand if you're on camera and I will see it. We'd love for folks to identify themselves when they're speaking so that everyone knows if you're not on video and you're just listening, that way you know who's speaking. And then please describe things on the screen pretty clearly if there's something in particular that you're referencing. For screen reader software, we've got Alt-A mutes and unmutes, Alt-V turns on and off your camera, and Alt-Y raises and lowers your hand, just as some additional tools. Okay. So that's the extent of what I want to go through at the beginning. And so I would like to turn it over to one of our co-chairs, Mayor Greg Nichols, to take it from here.
Thank you, Angie. And welcome, everybody. It's been 2 months since our last meeting, so we'll have a little bit of a turnover. We'll introduce some new folks in a few minutes and welcome people. And welcome the new administration. One of the things that's happened since our last meeting is that Mayor Harrell has asked us to continue our work through the opening of the bridge, the reopening of the bridge. So we were pleased to get that news a few weeks ago, and I want to thank everyone for sticking with this. You've all put in a lot of time and effort, except the new people, I guess, and it's very much appreciated. And Mayor Harrell, along with former Mayor Durkin, I know appreciates your willingness to step forward. So there's some fairly big news in the last few days. In fact, I think yesterday, that we're going to talk about. Today, we're going to give you a chance to reflect on what you've been hearing in your community since our last meeting. We're going to get some updates as we do each meeting, both on the bridge itself and on the mitigation, the reconnection efforts as well. So we got a good packed meeting today, and I want to welcome a number of people who are joining us as part of the new administration. First, Deputy Mayor Manisha Harrell, Senior Deputy Mayor, welcome to you, and thank you for taking your time today to meet the task force. I actually asked the question in the prep session how to pronounce Ms. Emery's first name, and it just completely left my brain. So
I'll help you. I can help you.
Yes,
it's Adiyam.
Adiyam. Thank you, Adiyam. I apologize.
No worries.
But welcome to you. You have, I understand, followed our process, been part of our process in your previous position, and we want to thank you for taking on additional responsibilities in your new position and being part of this effort on an ongoing basis. And Kristen Simpson is the interim director of the Seattle Department of Transportation. And so I want to welcome her as well. So the news from yesterday, I'm going to turn it over to the deputy mayor to address that along with her team, and what it means for our project and the task force's work. Deputy Mayor, again, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor Nichols. You certainly leave big shoes to fill as an administration for the city of Seattle, and we will try our best to do you proud. I want to thank all of you for continuing in this work. This, as you know, is tremendous work for the city, and I know how much and how important the West Seattle Bridge is to you. It's very important to our administration as well, and it's one of the first questions we asked is, when is it going to be fixed? When is it open? And you have an amazing team at SDOT that has been working on that. So the news from yesterday is really in and around potential, there are always potential disruptions with construction projects. And in this particular case, there has been a concrete strike that is going on, that is in its third month. And there are a significant amount of things to be fixed with the bridge. Your team here knows all of those details of things that can be done in preparation, but there is still a component of the West Seattle Bridge that needs concrete. And that's kind of where we are. I don't want to necessarily go into too many details on the strike, but what I will say is there is a team that has been actively meeting from many different municipalities. Shannon Braddock, who I've been on many meetings with. So King County has been actively engaged. The city of Seattle actively engaged. WashDOT, the convention center, the waterfront, all actively engaged in what can we do to bring the teams back to the table to get a resolution to this concrete strike. And we can say that it's not economic, and that's the challenge, because if it was an economic impasse, there's a piece of this that we would say as a city, well, let us fill the gap for you. It is that important to us. Let us help you fill the gap. There is an impasse. They haven't been at the table for a few weeks now, and we are doing everything within our powers to ensure that they can get back to the table and find a successful resolution to this. We meet at least 3 times a week to talk about the concrete strike and to ensure that we are doing everything in our power. At this juncture, King County has taken a real leadership role in putting out an RFQ that'll be due on March 11th, a little later than we would have wanted it, in terms of timing, but putting out an RFQ to say, what can we do to get concrete flowing, to get concrete on all of these important projects. The West Seattle Bridge is one of the most important ones, because no matter which municipality I talk to, at least some of their staff, including our very own executive Constantine, live in West Seattle. So it is very, very important. And Shannon, I remember that too. And so it is, the reason we've been spending so much time on it is because it is so critically important for West Seattle and also for the city. We need this really, really important means of connectivity. So I just want you to know that we are working on this as much as we possibly can. We don't want to interfere in the process. We all strongly support labor and their abilities to negotiate and get fair, just contracts. And we need this strike to come to a positive conclusion. We do believe that there is a positive conclusion available. We really do. We just think that the parties need to come back to the table in good faith. So With that, I won't take up any more time. You have an amazing, amazing team from SDOT here. They've acted very swiftly. They have done what they can to restructure the needs of how work is done on the bridge to have as little impact as possible. But we are reaching the point at which they've juggled all the balls they can juggle. And so we remain dedicated to this and ensuring that there's, we've even spoken, well, I won't say that, but we've spoken about all of our alternatives. And if we have to have a cement mixing party, that will be next. So with that, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Nichols, and I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And if your schedule allows you to stay for a few minutes, we will be introducing the members of the task force and the communities that they represent. And I know they'd appreciate being able to share that with you. Adiam, are you going to speak on this?
I just want to say a few words to just, first of all, thank the Community Task Force members for having us here today. And I also want to commend your effort and support, supporting this project. I also have been with the SDOT team, played a role in coming up with the mitigation element of so forth. And so I continue to support, my effort from a different branch right now, which I'm super excited. And as Senior Deputy Mayor Monisha stated, that this concrete strike does bring in, a reason for us to kind of focus and also kind of daylight this thing and ask for your support. I'm informed by the SDOT team, but that availability of concrete, if it's not available by February 20th, that it does have a delay to this construction effort that's underway for West Seattle Bridge. And we ask for, we're going to continue, as Senior Deputy Mayor mentioned, that we're going to continue to encourage both parties to meet at the negotiation table every day to just kind of elevate the importance of this work and other works around the city. And I just want to kind of encourage you all here today, as asking you to reach out to both parties and to let them know that how a delay to this bridge reopening would impact you personally, to your family, and to the people that are residing in the peninsula. So I know that SDOT has done everything they can do to keep us on track. And I would like to invite Heather to tell us this journey and talk about it more.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adyam. It's so wonderful to have you here today. And thank you so much for your kind words, Senior Deputy Mayor Harrell. It means the world to have the support of the mayor's office. Absolutely. I wonder if we could bring up, there's a slide, I think, just for funsies.
Sorry, Heather. A slight technical problem. Just a moment, please.
That's all right. That's all right.
Right on that.
While we're waiting, I'll also say thank you to Shannon Braddock from the executive's office. It's great to have you here, and I know that the leadership of Executive Constantine has made a real difference for us. So just to bring us back to first purposes, there is a general strike of concrete drivers in the Seattle area. Seattle, of course, supports a fair resolution among both parties. The strike is impacting construction in projects across the region, not just the West Seattle Bridge. And some of those projects actually need a whole lot more concrete than the West Seattle Bridge does. When we determined, when it seemed obvious that the concrete strike wasn't going to have a swift resolution in January, we worked together with our contractor to see if we could rearrange the schedule. Originally, we were going to need concrete by the end of January, but we were able to buy almost a month by rearranging things and forming up our concrete a little bit differently. So if we don't have our first pour on February 20th, that's not just an end to the strike by February 20th. We need to have the actual mud on the bridge by the 20th to maintain our current repair schedule at the current 6-day a week, 10-hour a day level of effort, which is a very high level of effort. So we need this concrete for guiding and anchoring the blocks that the post-tensioning is going to go through. Any of you who've had a chance to go tour the bridge, you'll remember these big giant concrete blocks that are inside the girders and how those post-tensioning tendons feed through them. Without these deviator blocks, the post-tensioning would not be able to do its job. It would succumb to gravity, right? So that's why this is so important. A little later on in construction, we're going to need concrete for overlay to make a new road surface. For the expansion joints, those are the things that you go da-dun, da-dun, da-dun over. And the sign bridge bases. Sign bridges are those big structures that hold the giant signs over the roadway. So we need concrete to place those as well. So right now, what we're doing to minimize delays is prioritizing other phases of both the high and low bridge repair. So we're not going to drop tools on February 20th. We're going to keep working on the epoxy crack injection. We're going to keep working on the carbon fiber reinforced polymer wrap for both the high and the low bridge. So we're going to keep moving ahead. We've formed up all the concrete elements at once, so that when the concrete is available, we are ready to receive. This also increases the size of the pour at any one time and reduces the number of pours that we need. So the amount of concrete stays the same no matter what, but how we're deciding to form this up means that we just need one big load at one time rather than sequential loads. I just want to point out that on the screen, there is a photograph of the box girder that shows the concrete blocks with the post-tensioning going through them. So in case that was a confusing photograph there. So I wanted to pause just for a second to find out if there are any questions about the concrete strike. There'll be, well, not the strike itself, but how the West Seattle Bridge is responding to the strike. And then we'll move on to the rest of our meeting. Meg, I think you can take the slide down. Oh, I'm so sorry. Councilmember Herbold, I know you had some words for us.
So much, and my apologies for being off screen today. I have been laid up since Sunday as a result of an accident. I have a couple of fractured vertebrae, yay, and I'm literally in bed, so I'm going to stay off camera. This is my first public meeting that I've had because I've had to really dial everything down this past week, but really glad to be with you. Want to thank the Carroll administration for continuing these meetings, and thanks to the representatives of the administration for being with us here today. Really appreciate the mayor's statement yesterday about the importance of opening the bridge as quickly as possible. I think, obviously our goal is for the strike to end, the issues to be resolved. But I also want us to start thinking about what it means if it is not resolved by the 20th. And I'm very, very concerned about that. And I'm very concerned about the fact that there's sort of other projects in the pipeline for concrete, and concerned that we work really hard to articulate why this project is so important. This bridge is a critical lifeline, not just for residents and businesses, but the entire region. And I really believe that keeping focused on completing repairs by mid 2020 is really our paramount responsibility. I don't need to go over how the closures affected all of us, or the fact that the number of bridges, trucks using the lower bridge now with Terminal 5 reopening, increasing, the number of trucks increasing, that how that adds to the urgency of moving other vehicles back on the bridge as soon as possible. But I really want us to figure out how to talk about how this project isn't a new project. This project is not an expansion of something that already exists. It's not part of a long-range plan. It's been in use for almost 40 years. It's broken and it needs to be fixed, and that needs to be the priority for the region. Our current transportation is built around it. And so I really want us, again, to start thinking about how we can ensure that everybody else who has a project that's in the queue, whether or not it's the city, transit agencies, Washington State, or the private sector, that we pull together to support the West Seattle Bridge project being first in line for concrete when the strike ends, because it is the biggest emergency project happening in the Pacific Northwest. And we're just 245 yards of concrete. That's fewer than 30 truckloads from the finish line. The amount of concrete needed for this project is much, much smaller than any of these other major projects. So let's get it out of the way. I also want to just, in closing, give my sincere thanks to County Executive Constantine and his Chief of Staff, Shannon Braddock, in the really critical work in helping us resolve the strike. We want to see this bridge repaired as soon as possible. And I also wanted to say that my staff, my colleagues on the council are all available to help advocate for prioritizing the bridge, and anything that we can do as it relates to the strike. We're here to share stories and impacts to help you keep the concrete flowing. Thanks.
Thank you, Council Member. Thank you for joining us today, and best wishes for a quick and as pain-free recovery as possible. My goodness. All right.
Deputy Mayor Harrell, you want to share some thoughts with us?
Yeah, I do. And Councilmember Herbold reminded me of the thing. So yes, Councilmember, hear you loudly and very clearly. We have been lobbying for the West Seattle Bridge to be first off the line when concrete starts flowing again. And our partners, again, that's why I keep reminding them they have so many staffers that live in West Seattle. So it's in everybody's best interests to make that happen. I have even offered for Mayor Harrell to wash the cars of those who will let us cut in line. So said jokingly and also kind of serious, if you'll take me up on it. So we have been raising that as a, we don't need a lot, just help us finish the project. So thank you for mentioning that. That's an important element I should have shared.
Thank you. And let me now turn it over to my co-chair, Paulina Lopez.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And of course, I want to echo the gratitude for prioritizing this important endeavor. And of course, many of our communities being impacted. We all wanted and still want, and we're still hopeful that the bridge will be on time, as we've been working with our communities to make this happen. And as we have been working very closely, as you say, Deputy Mayor Harrell, with our wonderful committed staff from SDOT. So thank you for being here, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Kristen, as well. I look forward to working with you, and thank you for allowing community to be part of the decision making and be working alongside with you for providing a space and allowing us to continue on this important task force. So I wanted to also give thanks for the people we have, some people of our community task force that have been serving for the past 2 years. And I wanted to acknowledge Peter Goldman from the West Seattle resident and advocate, as well as Bob Waters that was serving here from SS Marine, John Presak from the Georgetown neighborhood, and Laura Radford, who were part of our 26 meetings these past 2 years. And at the same time, as I acknowledge all the work that they have done in bringing community voice and perspective, I want to also welcome our new community task force members. And I'm going to ask Angie if she could kindly help me welcome those who are joining us.
Absolutely. Before I do the introductions, I do know I'm watching the time, and I know Deputy Mayor, you have to step out, so I want to give you a chance to gracefully exit if you need to.
I apologize. I thought I was going to have more time. I had more time on my calendar, and apparently there is an urgent need for me to be at another meeting at 4:30. So what I've said is I actually am hoping you'll invite me back, because I really want to have an opportunity to meet all of you who've put in your time and effort. So please invite me to your next meeting. I would love an opportunity to further connect with all of you.
We're going to keep you to that.
Please do. And I've told my scheduler, I said, if you're pulling me from this meeting, then you have to get me back. So thank you so much. I am really grateful for what you have brought to the community, and there will be people who will utilize the bridge and not know that we have you to thank. So thank you for planting the tree where you may not get all the credit, but you certainly are doing the hard work. So I appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much, and wishing you the best in the new administration, Monisha.
Audium, did you need to step out also, or are you going to stick around for a little bit?
I'm going to stick around.
Okay.
I miss
great.
the space.
Okay. So I have a list of folks here, and I'm going to call on people so that we don't do the popcorn and waste a bunch of time where everybody waits to see who's going to speak next. But I want to start with Kristen Simpson. So Kristen, do you want to introduce yourself? And for most folks, I'm going to say introduce yourself and the group that you represent, or whether it's the organization or the community that you represent. So Kristen, you can start.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to be here today. I've been looking forward to meeting all of you. Prior to becoming interim director, I served as the chief of staff for nearly 3 years, so I have been following this project very closely, and I'm excited to be even closer to it now. Even with a change in leadership, I can assure you that this project continues to be our top priority. As you've heard, we're doing everything possible to encourage a fair solution to the strike, to be ready, to be doing extra work and extra thinking and extra planning to take advantage of the time that we do have, and to get concrete delivered as quickly as possible after the strike ends. I'm also very aware of the burden that this closure has been for both West Seattle and for the lower Duwamish communities. And I know that most of the Reconnect West Seattle projects have been completed. Sarah is going to talk a little bit more about those later. So I feel like that is a glimmer of some good news in what is otherwise a pretty sobering conversation today. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'll be here for the rest of the meeting, and happy to take questions during that time of the meeting. Otherwise, I'll be here for this meeting and for the rest of the project. So thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Okay, I'm going to start down my list. Councilmember Peterson.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm not new. I don't have anything to add. There's lots of love here, and we need to get the bridge restored and the concrete strike. That's all I have to say. Thanks for everybody for participating for so long in this.
Thank you. And part of the reason why we're doing these introductions is just there are some new folks and they haven't met all of you before. So it's just, let's put faces with names and get everybody familiar with each other. Anne, you're next.
I'm Anne Higuera. We have a residential construction company in West Seattle. and live on Vashon, so represent Vashon a little bit as well.
Great. Colleen.
It's always a struggle to find the unmute button. Hi, everybody. I'm Colleen Desmond, and I represent the Highland Park neighborhood.
Dan.
Dan Austin here, West Seattle small business owner and government affairs co-chair and past chair of the West Seattle Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Dan. David.
Greetings, everyone. David Bestock, Executive Director of the Del Ridge Neighborhoods Development Association. Nice to be with NC, all of you.
Deb.
Hi, Deb Barker here. Volunteer for a whole lot of different things as far as transportation related. I'm a West Seattle Transportation Coalition board member, and I'm also having fun on the Sound Transit 3 Citizen Advisory Group. I do, when we get to it, have a few reflections to share, but I do want to echo the thank you for keeping this team going, Mayor Harrell. Really appreciate that.
Erin.
Hello, everyone. Erin Goodman with the SODO BIA. Really interested to watch all of this. As we know, Terminal 5's coming on board. So, you know, where we've avoided a lot of the traffic up till now, we're seeing more impacts in SODO now.
Thanks, Erin. Commissioner Fellman.
That was a great introduction for me. I am Port of Seattle Commissioner Fred Fellman, as well as representing the Northwest Seaport Alliance, our North Harbor, and manager of that Terminal 5. I want to thank the mayor for continuing this effort, and hopefully we'll have a quick resolution to the strike. We can all be hopeful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember McDermott.
I'm Joe McDermott. I serve on the King County Council representing people on both sides of the bridge. And since the bridge is closed, I'm sitting here in my office in the basement of my house in West Seattle. I'm happy to continue to be working with you all.
Katie.
I'm gonna assume that's me.
Yes.
Katie Garrow. I am the newly elected leader of MLK Labor. My title is Executive Secretary Treasurer, although it's a bit anachronistic, I think is the word. I wanted to just take a moment to say thank you to everyone for your patience with the concrete strike. We talked a lot about the impact that strike has had on people who live in the region, and I live in White Center, so I do understand what a delay to the bridge construction means on a personal level. But I want to bring into the room that since this strike has happened, we have lost 2 concrete truck drivers. One died by suicide and one died by an overdose, both of which are the real human impacts of economic insecurity during this time. I just got a text last night that one of them is slipped into homelessness and is living in his car. These workers are suffering really awful conditions to be able to win a better contract and a better life for their industry and for the generations of workers who will come behind them. So whatever sort of solidarity you can offer, I understand it's an inconvenience, and these workers are suffering themselves pretty greatly to win this fight. So just wanted to share that with you all and say thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Herbold, we'll give you one other chance here. I know you spoke earlier, but you want to say anything?
Sure. Lisa Herbold, council member representing District 1, that's West Seattle and South Park, 21-year resident of Highland Park, one of the communities that has a detour route. So not only here for my constituents, but here lots for my neighbors as well. Double duty neighbors who are also constituents. Really want to appreciate Katie for bringing the issue of the impacts of the workers into the room. I think most of us are really, when we talk about resolving the strike. We're not talking about simply resolving the strike at any cost. We want to resolve the strike for purposes of addressing the impacts of not having a strike, but we want to resolve the strike in benefit to the interest of the very, very acute needs of the folks who actually do this work day in, day out. So thank you.
Thank you. Liz Powell.
Hi, I'm Liz Powell. I represent West Seattle Bridge Now, which is basically the West Seattle community. And I'm looking forward to working with you all.
Thanks, Liz. Marcy.
Thank you. I'm Marcy Carpenter, a 17-year resident of the Admiral neighborhood. I represent disabled people and transit riders and a longtime transit advocate.
Thanks, Marcy. Marielle Trumbauer.
Hi, I'm Marielle. I'm Congressman Pramila Jayapal's Outreach and Grants Manager covering transportation and infrastructure.
Shannon.
Hi there. Sorry, just walked back into my house. Shannon Braddock, Chief of Staff to King County Executive Dow Constantine, also a West Seattle resident. And just a quick shout out, as everyone has done, to all the community members here, the staff, the policymakers who really are doing their damnedest in a really challenging situation. So thanks to all of you.
Shayna.
Hi, I'm Shayna Deitch. I'm Senator Murray's Seattle Metropolitan Director, here to listen and lift up your concerns and the things that the task force wants. We are not, intervening in any way, except we are continuing to fight for money for the bridge. We've already helped you secure $38 million, and we're going to keep pushing to get money to make sure this bridge is open and fund other construction projects in Seattle.
Thank you. Todd?
Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Carden. I am a 30-year resident of West Seattle, and I am a 25-year almost survivor of COVID business owner. And we're just looking forward to seeing this continue to be resolved, and appreciate the opportunity to be here and represent West Seattle.
Thank you. I think that's all the CTF members. If I missed you, raise your hand. There's a couple staff that I want to introduce just in case you haven't met them yet. Heather, you want to introduce yourself? You just wave it on.
Hi, everyone. Heather Marks. I'm the director of the West Seattle Bridge Safety Program and at your service.
Thanks, Heather. Megan Shepard.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Shepard here in ESTA, and I am part of Heather's team. And one of your first points of contact if you need assistance or want to share something back.
Thanks, Megan. And Bill.
Hi, I'm Bill Laborde with SDOT staff, and I help staff the task force and also a point of contact for task force members.
Great. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for indulging us with that. I think it was great to just put faces and names and voices for some of those folks who haven't been with us for as long. So with that, Paulina, I'm going to turn it back over to you for the community reflection.
Thank you, Angie, and thank you all. Our members, introducing yourselves is important. We look forward to working with you all. And as you know, we always prioritize the community voice in this space. So this will be a good opportunity for us to see where we're at, to reflect what we've been hearing from community, and also to bring up into discussion perhaps some of the things that we have mentioned about the strike. Like we want to know where you're all at and hear your voice. So I am going to call Deb, since I see first your hand being up.
Thank you so much. Deb Barker, I love West Seattle. It's even on my business card. It's a little hokey, but oh well. I have a few things I just want to share. The 16th Avenue Southwest Safety Committee, they're going to be having another meeting. Looks like it's just been scheduled for March 4th, and they are really pleased that they've had some traffic calming put in there. And then they're also a little concerned that people still like to speed like crazy in between that traffic calming measures. So they'll be continuing to advocate. And if you know of anybody who goes on 16th, tell them to slow the heck down, please. I just also wanted to say thank you to SDOT for reaching out to the task force members and letting us know in advance about the concrete strike outreach and situation, and before the press release. It really helped me heading into a different meeting and to have that information. Also, SDOT, I want to give you many thumbs up. This is only 2, but many thumbs up for your very awesome video that you just kind of snuck in there. And that was a great portrayal, really an excellent visual project or component to be on a video. And I'm looking very much forward to more. Lastly, I just want to let the community know that there are community efforts underway to plan a celebration for the bridge reopening. And if you're interested in learning more about that, check in with the West Seattle Chamber of Commerce, or myself, or many others who are on that. But just wanted to let the community know that opening this bridge, of course, is so important to all of District 1. Thanks.
Other reflections from folks? Things you've been hearing from the community as you've been out talking to people?
Or any comments if you haven't heard from community that you may want to bring here before we go into some of the presentations that we have prepared for you in the agenda. Feel free to use the space. It's a quiet crowd today, Angie. What do you think?
Okay, we'll keep moving. If things come up for you, there'll be time for us to come to questions and for you to share thoughts. So, okay, so we're gonna pull the slides back up. And I'm going to turn it over to Heather Marks. Heather, you're on for the West Seattle Bridge updates. And as soon as those show up, I would say you can get started.
Nice. I'm
Megan's
happy to be here to do that. Excellent. Poor Megan. Can we get a round of applause for Megan? She has, no, seriously.
No, not today. Like, I have one job right now, one job today, and I can't even quite, but there's something funky. It's not working the way it normally does. Anyways, thank you. Goodbye.
Maybe we could go to the next slide. Okay. Hey, nice work. So just as an update for you, we of course are spending every minute of every day thinking about the concrete strike, but in the meantime, all of that hydro demo work is completed, created access for the work platforms. The work platforms have been assembled and hoisted. You can see them. The scaffolding has been assembled on the work platforms. And let me just tell you, climbing up and down on that scaffolding, scary. We are doing epoxy injections and carbon fiber wrapping on the end spans. That's where you may recall that when we did the stabilization work, we had the work platforms under the main span, the center of the bridge. Now the work platforms are under the end spans. And so we're doing that epoxy crack injection and carbon fiber wrapping on the end spans. Coming up, we have more epoxy injection and interior carbon fiber wrapping on the main span. And we're also preparing for post-tensioning and just ready whenever that mud starts flowing. We have a little progress video that you can check out on our website. I think it's on the blog too. It's on a lot of different places. It's cute. Okay, next slide. Here is a visual representation of what I just said. So it's a picture of the bridge, and you can see on the east and west sides, we have the work platforms lifted into place. So that's done. Under construction right now, we have some core drilling in those spaces between the main span and the end spans, as well as some exterior carbon fiber wrapping and epoxy injections on those end spans. And coming up, we'll have some interior carbon fiber wrapping and epoxy injections in the central span. I know that it is frustrating for people to look out and not see folks going back and forth with wheelbarrows and brooms, but people are doing lots and lots of very technical work. Most of the work is happening inside the bridge. So never fear, you can trust me when I tell you that there is actual work happening right now. Next slide, please. This shows you a schedule, a Gantt chart is what we call it, that gives you a little bit of a visual representation of what we've done, what we're doing, and how long it's going to take us to finish. So you can see that in December and January, we dug out those bridge access points and raised the platforms. We've started our post-tensioning work as well as epoxy injections and carbon fiber wrapping. That work is going to go on through April, May, and June. We are planning to reopen the High Bridge there in mid-2022. However, as we discussed earlier, if we can't get the concrete by February 20th, we are going to have a real hard time. It's going to be impossible for us to meet that deadline. So we are really crossing our fingers for an equitable resolution to the strike. Of course, not just for our project, but for all the people who are involved. Next slide, please. Ooh, the low bridge, the sleeper, so much fun. We are continuing to do preventative maintenance on the low bridge systems. When we say systems, we're talking about the communication systems that create the conditions where the bridge can open and close again. We have completed the hydraulic pump removal and maintenance at the East Pier that last weekend of January. We have some additional projects that we're working on. We need to replace one of the lift cylinders. That's going to happen this year, but a little bit later. We have a control system upgrade that is the the buttons and levers and wheels that cause the bridge to open and close. The communication system we're upgrading, that's also going to be done in mid-2022. That's the fiber optics that communicate from one side of the bridge to the other. And then, of course, we're going to be doing epoxy crack injection and carbon fiber wrapping on the low bridge as well. You may recall that we originally thought that we were going to do additional post-tensioning on the low bridge, but it turned out that all we need to do is some epoxy crack injection and carbon fiber wrapping. And that is being done at the same time as the work that is happening on the high bridge. Next slide, please. Ooh, this is not great. So I just wanted to let you know, in case you are driving on the loop ramp that takes you from eastbound Spokane Street and the West Seattle Bridge up to northbound SR 99, there's a hole in the ramp, and you can see a picture from below. Here, the first one where you can see the exposed rebar. And then in the center, there's a picture of the surface of the street with sort of a patch-like thing. You can also see the rebar. If we were standing on top of this loop ramp and looking, we would be able to see all the way through to the bottom. There is a steel plate over that patch right now. This is a WashDOT facility, and so our friends at WashDOT are designing the repair. And I wanted to alert you that this work is going to occur later in the spring. It's expected to take about 2 weeks, and it's going to involve closing this loop ramp. So we will keep you informed, but since it is part of the transportation system that we're working with here, we wanted to make sure that you knew that we were aware of it and that there's a plan to fix it. If you want further information about that, please do contact the public affairs team at the WashDOT's Northwest region. That's nwpublicaffairs@washdot.wa.gov.
Heather, will that work be done before the bridge reopens?
Yes, it will.
Okay, good.
Yes, it will. It needs, just for the nerds among us, I am one. This is, it's not particularly complicated, but it's really important that the concrete has the appropriate time to cure. And so we're not going to rush this work. We want to make sure we're doing it when it's nice and warm, and that we give it plenty of time to cure, because it is a road surface that that takes quite a beating. Next slide, please. All right.
Okay, we have some time for some questions about any of that good stuff. Anything that people want to ask Heather? Anne.
Okay, so it's delayed. We get past February 20th. The concrete's not available. Is that like, are we delayed 2 weeks because it's one day, or are we delayed one day because we're delayed one day?
I think it's, I wish I had a really super good answer for you, Anne.
I know it's a ridiculous question, but yeah.
It's not ridiculous. It's a hopeful question. I don't think we can say that it's sort of a one day for one day situation. It sort of depends when in the progression of the project we get the concrete. And we are in constant contact with the contractor, and all of us have an interest in making sure that this gets done appropriately, safely. This is the first task, but also quickly. So it's just hard for us to say without knowing when there's going to be an equitable resolution to the strike. But I can assure you, and I know you'll believe me when I say this, you'll be among the first to know.
Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome, Ann.
Deb?
Heather, thanks for the super not fun details. I got to say that when I was going through the PowerPoint in advance of the meeting and went, oh, yes, there is a hole there. And then I realized, nope, wrong hole. And so I'm glad that that hole on the turn is being repaired. But I was initially thinking about the condition, the lousy condition of the northbound Spokane on-ramp to northbound I-5. And I know that that's WashDOT. And so my question is there any update on where WashDOT is with the repairing the on-ramps to I-5?
We have made them aware.
Yes.
Turns out they already knew, but we made them aware. And for reasons that I don't have enough technical knowledge to explain, they are not as concerned about that portion, maybe because you can't see through to the ground.
True.
Okay. So I'm sure they will get to that in due time. Right now, the loop ramp is a little bit more pressing.
I totally realize that. I'm going to keep pressing for that to.
Yeah, you know, Deb, that email address that I gave you, nwpublicaffairs@washdot.wa.gov, that would be a great place to send those concerns like directly to the source.
Absolutely. Thanks so
All
much.
right. Thank you.
Other comments or questions from folks? Okay. Well, we will keep moving then. We're ready to turn
Angie,
to
Angie, let me just, I don't want to call too much attention, but I do want to thank Adam Dewar from Kramer North America. He is our wonderful partner and math genius. Whenever I have random questions about force, he's right there for me. So if we could all just give him our thanks for the really high quality work that they are doing. I just am really happy and proud to have you on the team, Adam. All right, go ahead, Angie.
Okay. Megan, I think we're ready to pull up the slides again, and we're going to turn it to Sarah Zora to give us an update on Reconnect West Seattle. Sarah, are you ready?
Yes, and can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Perfect. Thank you so
We're on
much.
the wrong slide though.
Yeah.
We gotta get to the right ones, Megan. She's saying, I know. Here we go. Okay, Sarah, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm Sarah Zora from SDOT, and I am the Reconnect West Seattle Mobility Manager. I'm going to give you an update on what we achieved in Q4 of 2021, as well as kind of a whole year look at, and then I'll look at what we're doing in 2022. So you go to the next slide, Megan. I just want to give a little reminder to people about what Reconnect West Seattle is, since we do have some new members of the CTF. It really is a program to try to achieve similar levels of travel across the Duwamish River waterway, as well as trying to reduce the environmental injustices that have been impacting the communities in the Duwamish Valley, as they are the neighborhoods that are receiving a lot of that detour route traffic. So there's a bunch of different goals that were set at the beginning of the closure in 2020, and a big focus of the Reconnect West Seattle program is delivering capital projects. It's also trying to help people with transportation travel options. It's also trying to respond to community concerns and work on traffic mitigation, as well as think about the low bridge access. So there's 4 different components kind of within the Reconnect West Seattle program. If you go to the next slide, Megan. At the beginning of the bridge closure, we really wanted to do ask you all how we could help to improve the way you're traveling, get you to travel in different ways, help alleviate some of the concerns with that closure of the high bridge. So there was a survey that went out, and 15,000 plus of you all filled out that survey and gave us really good suggestions as to how we could think about moving forward and mitigate some of the impacts that you all were feeling. Part of that was also reaching out to communities that were heavily impacted from these detour routes because of the bridge closure, and really prioritizing prioritized projects that would make a difference either in walkability, livability in the neighborhoods that were getting that brunt of the detour route traffic. We have achieved and implemented over 240 traffic mitigation projects, and we have built 53 of the neighborhood ballot projects, which are part of the Reconnect West Seattle implementation plan. And we have 17 more projects coming up from that implementation plan to deliver this year. We have an online dashboard, so any project that was a community prioritized project or elements that we've done to mitigate the impacts of the closure are within this map that you see on the screen, and you can click and kind of learn more information about each of the projects that we have delivered or plan to deliver. Go to the next slide, Megan. So just a quick look at what we were able to achieve in 2021 to help mitigate some of the impacts that you all were feeling, as well as some of the community projects, prioritized projects that we have been implementing since 2020. So we have implemented 53 of the 70 Reconnect West Seattle implementation plan projects. One of the highlights from Q4 was we completed a Harbor Island contingency access plan, really to help mitigate any kind of future situation where we would need some access to and from Harbor Island. We have built from the home zone perspective, we have 3 home zone neighborhoods in Georgetown, South Park, and Highland Park. We have from our community walks with the neighborhood neighbors back in 2020, 2021, we have come up with the 3 home zone plans, and of the 3 home zone plans, there were 64 projects that the community worked with us to prioritize that would help make a difference within their neighborhoods while this bridge was closed. So we have built 39 of them, and we have a handful left to do coming up here in 2022 as well. We've also built 23 traffic mitigation projects in the Q4. And again, we've built over 240 of those since the high bridge has closed. And that's really responding to community input from either phone calls or emails into the West Seattle Bridge at seattle.gov email address, where you have all sent us either concerns about traffic, ideas that we could try to implement to really reduce some of the issues and concerns that you've seen as you're out there on the streets. One of the big highlights that we completed from a traffic mitigation standpoint was the Duwamish Longhouse interim signal that we had were able to operationalize at the end of last year. I'm going to give you a little look ahead to the capital side of projects for 2022. Like I said, we have an implementation plan for 2022. We have 10 projects on there. Some highlights, just to let you be aware, is we have a rectangular rapid flashing beacon coming in at 17th and Henderson. This will really promote better walkability and bikeability within the neighborhood. We're going to be adding a low-cost asphalt sidewalk along Sylvan Way from a staircase to an entrance at High Point Drive Southwest. We're really going to focus on 14th Avenue South in the South Park neighborhood to really ensure that there's really good visibility and understanding and upgrades of some of the materials out there to make sure visibility is crucial. We've been seeing higher speeds and a lot of interactions with pedestrians that we would like to calm down and ensure that we are managing a little bit better. And then we have had some results, conversations between our department and our partners at the Seattle Fire Department. So we will be installing some of the remaining traffic calming elements that we had on hold for some time. So we will be moving forward with another speed cushion on Southwest 106th Street, on 18th Avenue Southwest, on 45th Avenue Southwest, on Southwest Cloverdale, and on Marine View Drive. There were some additional traffic calming elements, such as I think Deb mentioned in the community reflection about 16th Avenue Southwest. So we're going to be meeting with that community to continue to address some of the speeding and concerns that they have there with installing a radar speed sign and a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. And we're going to continue to talk about and collect data on some of the concerns that we're still hearing from that community. Part of what we're also doing in 2022 is really getting ready for that high bridge to reopen. So there's been some projects that Reconnect West Seattle installed that will have to be removed or modified as we prepare for the high bridge reopening. So we also, part of our team is working on that as we're still trying to build to mitigate some of the impacts of that high bridge closure. And then the last thing that we're going to be doing in 2022 is really evaluating the program. Like I mentioned, we sent out a big survey to you all to try to figure out how we could help you get through the high bridge closure. We're going to come back out and ask you a few other questions to see how you were able to modify your travel behaviors, or if you did, or what kind of circumstances you had when, during this period. And so we're just really wondering how the program was implemented in interaction with the community. If you go to the next slide, Megan, I'm going to move to the mobility action side of Reconnect West Seattle. This is really about trying to help people with their options in traveling, potentially in different ways than you had in the past, to really help mitigate the high bridge closure. In partnership with our partners at King County Metro, we've added 25,000 transit service hours to West Seattle and Duwamish Valley on the C line, the 120, the 50, and the 60 routes. And that was really important part of our Seattle transit measure to ensure that we could provide additional frequency of bus service for you in West Seattle and Duwamish Valley. We've also partnered with King County Water Taxi Group to really extend the winter service hours to be the summertime kind of service hours. So that was really important to try to provide that other option, additional option for people during those winter months to extend those hours. And then we also launched the Flip Your Trip campaign in fall of 2021. That really was it's a program that's still going on that you can still sign up for, and it's really about promoting incentives for helping people utilize different ways to get around, such as the bus or water taxi, bike share and scooter share, and van pool kind of promotions as well. So there's a lot of different things that we've been trying to do from a capital side as well as providing service and options for people to try to get around from within this Reconnect West Seattle program. If you go to the next slide, Megan. From the Mobility Action Plan, the Flip Your Trip campaign, we just want to give a little highlight about how that program is going. We've had about 5,500 people register for the program. And part of the registration is you register online at flipyourtrip.org, and then you go to the Transit Go ticket app to really enroll in order to accumulate points and then use those points for different trips. The really exciting thing is that over 6,000 trips have been used from those 2,200 people that have signed up for the program. So that's really encouraging that people are utilizing different ways to get around if you're living or working in South Park, Storms Valley, or West Seattle. The program also definitely has the Orca cards ready to be distributed if someone does not have a smartphone to be able to use the Transit Go ticket. So we really want to make sure we're very open to the program, and people of all abilities are able to have the ability to participate in this program. The chart you see on the screen really shows where the participants are coming from by neighborhood. So you'll see some of the greater blocks of circle are from Admiral, North Admiral, Alki, Alaskan Junction. These are great indicators that people living in these areas are trying to utilize different ways to get around, because that's who we anticipate is needing some extra help, because typically I think they would have used the high bridge if they were in their vehicle. So really encouraging to see the amount of neighborhoods that had been participating and joined the Flip Your Trip campaign. So we really are thankful that people are using it, and keep on using it and doing your part to try to make sure we alleviate some of the traffic congestion that's out there. A part of the 2022 look ahead for the Mobility Action Plan is that they're going to get it, the team is going to get into some of the more seasonal change, so more biking and active kind of commuting engagement coming up here. You'll see Sal the Salmon a little bit more here in 2022 to really encourage you to try to take different trips in different ways to get around, and continued efforts with our community-based organizations collaboration and small business collaboration to really help people learn that there's different ways and options of traveling at this time. And with that, the last slide I wanted to talk about is the low bridge access. So as a reminder, we have authorized users that are utilizing the low bridge at this time. If you are trying to get access to be an authorized user, you have until 5 more days to get your application in until February 15th. So just make sure you're aware of the time frame for that. Part of the program that we have been really focused on is assessing how the Terminal 5 opening is impacting or not with the low bridge access. So we're currently monitoring now. We're going to be monitoring until that high bridge opens, and right now it's looking pretty good. We're actually quite happy with the data that's been coming in. We're going to continuously monitor that to ensure that if there's any changes that need to occur within our authorized user group, that we would be talking about that if necessary at any time. We do have a couple more low bridge access subcommittee meetings coming up here on the 15th in a couple days, and then again on March 15th, to just ensure that we're still communicating with our low bridge access subcommittee and sharing data and things about how our performance is doing on that low bridge. I see that Councilmember Herbold has a question.
Thank you so much. I do. On the low bridge access approved user groups and the ability of the subcommittee to consider modifications in the current lower level bridge access policy. Just would like to understand a little bit of what the process and ability to consider small modifications for a very finite group of users. In particular, I've been contacted by some constituents who really are hoping that we consider a modification to the policy so that verifiable medical transport contractors, like through HopeLink, are allowed to use the bridge. They provide a service that is urgent or semi-urgent to people with disabilities. And the ability of these contractors to provide that service means it takes the weight off of first responders. It means first responders don't have to be the one doing the medical transport. Again, this is a finite group of users, and there are some consequences of these medical transport contractors no longer offering this urgent transport, because if they stop doing so, one of the issues is that they're contracted to provide this service, and there's been no change in the contract to take into consideration the additional distance and time it takes to provide the same service. And so I would hate to have this sort of unintended consequence of they're no longer providing this really critical health service to residents on the peninsula, and that would then increase the need of first responders to provide this service at a time when we have real big vacancies in our first responders.
Councilmember Herbold, that is all very interesting and good information. I have Maureen Sheehan here, who is our Low Bridge Access Program Manager, who I think will be able to answer your question better than I. So I would like her to be able to address some of your comments.
Thanks so much.
Sure, yeah, thank you for the question. So we have been working closely with some groups like HopeLink, and some of their vehicles do have access to the Low Bridge. So I'd love to follow up with you a little bit more and get some more information about what those groups are, what the disconnect may be. But I do know that HopeLink and a couple other of those medical providers are do have access to the Low Bridge currently.
All right, well, let's definitely connect offline. I know Newell from my office has reached out to SDOT on a couple of occasions to advocate on behalf of this constituent, but I'll just work on trying to move it up in everybody's inbox. Thank you.
Yes, please do that. Thank you so much. Thanks, Maureen.
Any other questions from folks on this piece around Reconnect West Seattle and all the great work that they've done? Okay, the next section, so we already did this discussion, and so our next section is turning this over to Sam Marshall to talk more about West Marginal Way and Highland Parkway intersection improvements. Sam, are you ready to go?
I am, thank you.
Great, over to you.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Sam Marshall with SDOT, data analyst with our Downtown Mobility and West Seattle Bridge team. And just want to take a little bit of a deep dive into some of the improvements that Sarah touched on as part of Reconnect West Seattle. So next slide, please. So some of you may have noticed in the fall, specifically early September, these projects were completed. We completed some improvements at the intersection of West Marginal Way and Highland Parkway. These improvements included things such as removing some of the islands, installing an additional northbound lane on the south part of the intersection there, as well as installing some accessible pedestrian signals and undertaking some signal timing improvements as well. Next slide. So we wanted to take a look at exactly what the impact of these intersection improvements were. And specifically, we wanted to see, one, how did travel times change before and after the intersection improvements in and around that particular intersection? We also wanted to see how alternative routes might have been affected either indirectly or directly by these intersection improvements. And lastly, we wanted to take an east-west view of how folks are getting into and out of West Seattle and see how routes traveling through Highland Parkway and West Marginal Way compared to some of the more frequently traveled alternative routes. Next slide. So for starters, we took 6 routes that travel through that Highland Parkway West Marginal intersection, for the most part going from one signalized intersection to another, and looked at the 2 months prior to those intersection improvement implementations and the 2 months after. And we saw a pretty marked difference in a positive way. Actually, all 6 routes that we took a look at experienced travel time improvements ranging from 11% to 31%. And that translates to, depending on the route, a minute or two saved for travelers traveling those routes. It may not sound like a lot, but these are relatively short routes, so it's actually a significant improvement depending on the route. We, for a little context here, we also took a look at 2019 travel times on these same routes to establish a baseline to see if there was any, seasonal decrease that we usually see heading into the fall as far as travel times are concerned. And they actually remained remarkably consistent through summer, fall, and winter. So we can, with pretty high confidence, attribute these improved travel times to some of the improvements that were made at that intersection. And also want to note that we are, as we see travel times improve, we are keeping an eye on average speeds through these corridors. And while we're seeing speeds increase as folks are able to travel through more efficiently, for the most part, we're not seeing increase in speeding issues on these particular corridors. Next slide. And in addition to the routes that we looked at going through the intersection, we wanted to compare some of those routes to alternative routes that we had heard folks are taking to get in and out of West Seattle in an east-west direction. In particular, we compared one route traveling on Southwest Holden Street, traveling through that intersection, to another alternative route going down 16th and across on Roxbury. And what we found, if we take a look at the next slide, is that actually both before and after the Highland Park intersection improvements were completed, it was still a bit faster to travel directly through that intersection than it was to go south and across to the east. Looking at PM peak travel times, we did see pretty marked improvement traveling westbound on Holden through that intersection, folks completing that route about 12% faster than they were previous to the improvements. Again, that translates to about a minute or two in savings of travel time, but being a relatively short route, it was a pretty significant finding. And likewise on other travel routes, those routes during the PM peak remain relatively unchanged, but given that it's PM peak, we'd expect to see the greatest improvement in the westerly direction. And so, we realize traffic issues persist, but we're happy to report that at least these improvements did have folks traveling through a bit more, these various corridors a bit more efficiently. So unless there are any questions, that does it for this update.
Commissioner Fellman.
I guess hopefully I'm audio. I don't see myself, but you can hear me. Okay, very good. Well, not specifically limited to East Marginal, was the improvements that could be achieved with better signage. That oftentimes, right, if people were not loitering or doing loops, we could probably move more people. Is there intentions, certainly on the lower portions, is there intentions before the bridge reopens to have improved wayfinding through the system?
This is Trevor Partap with SDOT. We can definitely take a look at that. A common phrase that we get from people is that they're following their GPS. And so a lot of times people are finding the most efficient route to get from point A to point B using their phones. But if you have something specific in mind, be happy to entertain some of those options.
Well, to your point about using your GPS, we have, people come to events on a terminal or something, and sometimes the GPS doesn't know whether you're on the upper bridge or lower bridge. You're in the alignment, but not the placement. In fact, it's the GPS that messes people up. So it's the better, clear signage would obviate that problem.
Yep, we can definitely look at that. And I'll also just highlight that we are working with the GPS companies. As soon as we find issues, we are reporting them to those folks, and they are generally pretty responsive. So we've worked with TomTom and Google, to name a couple, and the other ones as well.
I recognize it's a challenge, though. They're so closely aligned. But anyway, thank you. And if we have specific recommendations, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, you can feel free to send those to the DOT_West Seattle Bridge, which we can also get that contact information to you as well. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Deb, question or comment?
Yes, seeing the map that Sam had, I was wondering if, sorry, if it could be put back up, because seeing it, I realized, oh, there is that sign on that's always covered by vegetation, and I'm always driving by it, and I never get a chance to say where it is. So it's the one showing the two routes. Yes. So, right about where your blue dot is at ends onto 509, I believe it is. Sam, there is as you're heading towards Cloverdale, just in the next little bit, there is a sign, I believe, to I-5 that is completely covered up by vegetation. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I was not aware of that. Do we actually, Trevor or Matt, do you have any comment on that?
Sorry, I can follow up with you, Deb, to get the exact location.
That would be great.
We can definitely have the vegetation trimmed so it improves the visibility of the signs. Yep.
Yeah, I'm always going by it and I think of it and I don't have the ability to get on my phone and do a find it, fix it. So seeing the map reminded me. Thank you very much. I'll look forward to talking with you, Trevor.
Perfect, thanks.
Thanks.
Any other questions, comments from folks? Okay. So we are closing out a little early. So we just want to make sure that if you have questions, don't hold them because we're here. But wanted to talk through the next steps a little bit. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mayor Nichols to talk through next steps.
So we're scheduled at this point to meet on April 14th. So that's what you'll find on your calendar would be April 14th. But that's also spring break for Seattle schools. So we recognize that is a problem for a lot of folks. So we would like to move that to the 21st, which would be, I guess, another Thursday evening meeting rather than a Wednesday meeting. So if you could take a look at your calendars and make sure that you take off the 14th and add the 21st, that would be very helpful. We'll hopefully have a resolution on the concrete strike by then. And we'll get updates on how the repair is moving along, the low bridge and how that work is working for us. And finally, the Reconnect West Seattle update. So I want to thank the folks who presented for us today. They did a great job, some good news, and then some news that we all would rather have avoided with the concrete strike, but we are going to deal with that. Please complete your reflection form if you have an opportunity. And with that, please
Mayor Nichols, I have two quick things real quick, sorry, that have come through. One is to let you all know that we'll send out a new calendar appointment tomorrow. So it will change automatically from the 14th to the 21st. And the other is, Heather, we had a request for the email address. If you can say that again slowly. You're on mute. I knew you were going to talk.
NW. Public, PUBLIC. Affairs, AFFAIRS. NW Public Affairs at WSDOT.WA.gov. That is the public affairs email for the Northwest region of Washington.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry for butting in there.
Anything else, Angie?
Not from our end, I don't think. So,
Paulina, anything for the good of the order?
Mayor Nichols, this is Deb. Did you want to say anything more about the email that you sent out talking about the van pool that was organized?
Sure. Most of you got it except you.
I know. That was
Um,
weird.
And that was when Chris Peeler first represented ILWU at our meeting a few months ago. I introduced him and I put him on the spot and asked him if he would be willing to commit to work toward a van pool solution for some of their members. The reason for that being important, in my opinion, is that we're getting through this at least in part because there's a sense of shared sacrifice, that I'm not the only one who's affected by this, but my neighbors are as well. And to Chris's, I think he was surprised, I suspect, by the question because I had not asked him ahead of time, but he responded in the affirmative. And he rolled up his sleeves and worked with his colleagues at SSA, with SDOT, with Metro and their van pool program, and the port. And there is now a shuttle service that is providing access for members of ILWU to Terminal 5, rather than the individual vehicles that would have been the most likely alternative. So I want to thank everyone who was involved in that. Bob Waters is leaving us. Chris Peeler worked on it. Lindsay, I think I just saw you on the screen, but Lindsay Wolpa on behalf of the commission and the Northwest Port Alliance. So it was a team effort. SDOT pulled people together and they followed through in good faith. So I want to recognize that.
Thank you for doing that.
Oh, you bet. Thank you.
I think it just it needed to be acknowledged broadly beyond the email. So thank you.
Lindsay, did you want to add something?
I just quickly wanted to say because I know Chris Peeler and then SSA Ari Steinberg wasn't able to be here today. And on behalf of my commissioner who's here, thank you for, I'm so impressed and proud of what they did. And also to share, the shuttle is running very well. It's actually been more successful than we originally thought. Folks are using it on a regular basis. And so it has actually been, in a few weeks of operating, it's been a fantastic program. So wanted to share that. And many others, I see Dan Austin on the screen. So it was really a family affair to get this thing through, and appreciate to Mayor Nichols to pushing us to get there. And I know Chris was supposed to be here today. So Deb, thank you for bringing this up. And it really is a good example of collaborative success for our community.
Yes.
I want to throw out that between the two groups, realizing that now it's harder for them to get lunch, it's actually created an opportunity to bring local food trucks onto the port that have been struggling to find business. So now we're able to connect local food trucks down to get down to T5. So they get rotating different styles of meals down there, and we're putting small businesses back to work at the same time. So it's
awesome.
actually beautiful in so many ways.
That's
awesome.
Thanks to the port for that opportunity for local business.
Thanks, Dan, for that reminder. It's a great story in that too.
Good work. All right. I think on that note, let's all go and enjoy our family and our evening, and we'll see you on April 21st. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Take
team.
care.
Thank you.